How's everyone doing today? So, today I'm going to be reviewing The Incredible Hulk from 2008. This movie's made by Universal. This was before Marvel Studios kind of took over everything, but even so, I do believe Universal actually owns the rights to the Hulk right now. So, that's why we haven't seen any more solo Hulk movies from Marvel Studios. But, yeah, this movie's directed by Louis Leterrier. I'm probably pronouncing that wrong. I personally have never heard of this director. Now, this movie's starring Edward Norton as Bruce Banner and the Hulk, and I gotta say, he's probably my favorite portrayal of Bruce Banner so far. Eric Bana in the other Hulk movie wasn't too bad. That movie's iffy though. And Mark Ruffalo is good too. I have no problem with Mark Ruffalo. I just find Edward Norton, from reading the comics and stuff, Edward Norton just seems like he feels more like Bruce Banner than Mark Ruffalo. He even looks more like Bruce Banner than Mark Ruffalo does. But yeah, I loved him in this movie. Liv Tyler as Betty Ross. I love her in just about every movie I see her in as well. I also would like to see her return to the MCU. I don't know if she will or how that'll work, but I'd love to see her in it some more. William Hurt, General Thunderbolt Ross. He's kind of pops up every now and then in the MCU. I know he's in Civil War. But Tim Roth plays Emil Blonsky slash Abomination, and I love Tim Roth. He's in what was it? Reservoir Dogs, I believe. He's in a couple Quentin Tarantino movies. That's where I know him from, anyway. But the runtime for this movie is 113 minutes, about an hour 53 minutes. If you're watching the credits, if not, probably an hour 43 minutes, give or take. But yeah, I'll give you a quick summary of the movie. I kind of wrote two paragraphs of what I thought the movie was about without any spoilers, so I'll kind of read that to you. So, the Incredible Hulk completely jumps over his origin story into the story of a tortured soul. This movie is about a scientist trying to cure an incurable disease that transforms him into a horrific beast called the Hulk, leaving him uncertain about what happens while he's transformed, all while trying to cope with PTSD from the army constantly harassing, chasing, and shooting at him. The army seems to think that he is their property and literally chase him across the globe, but all he wants is to live a normal life again. Now, the cinematography in this movie, for 2008, I found the CGI was surprisingly good for its time, especially compared to the Hulk from 2003. There was a few acting hiccups I noticed, but nothing to ruin the film. The soundtrack wasn't very memorable. However, I believe I caught the old Hulk theme song from the old show. I believe I seen that in a scene or two. The story did get slow at some points, but I feel like it had to for the story to progress. So it does get slow at times, but I feel like it needs to for the story. It's a fairly low key movie given what happens, I guess. But overall, I give this movie thumbs up, and I rate it 8.5 out of 10. I know a lot of people give this like 6, 7 out of 10, if that. But I didn't realize rewatching it all the PTSD stuff that's in it. I didn't know all this stuff the first couple times I watched it. Now that I'm watching it with an open mind and now that I'm reviewing stuff and I'm actually paying attention to stuff, I actually like this movie more than I used to. So that's why I'm giving this an 8.5 out of 10. I know online it's going to have different reviews, but Hulk's my boy, so that I gotta like this movie. Not even I gotta. I actually thoroughly do enjoy this movie. But yeah, I give it thumbs up, 8.5 out of 10. I highly recommend it, especially if you're an MCU fan, especially if you're a Hulk fan. God. But now I'm gonna get into spoilers from beginning to end, and I literally, I got like 2 pages of spoiler stuff written down. So I'm just gonna go through it. I'm gonna try to pay attention to you guys here, but I gotta read off this just so I don't forget anything, so don't mind if I'm looking away. Now, one of my favorite things about this movie is they covered the origin story in the intro. They just skipped over the origin story, and I love that. We basically just jump into Bruce being the Hulk in Brazil, and I love that. Also in the opening credits, they mention Stark Industries and Nick Fury, and it's just, this was before anything was even gonna happen. Like, they never thought that it would become this huge universe, and I just love seeing these little, just these little nods, especially back then, because it wasn't really meant to be anything. But yeah, it goes to Bruce trying to practice his breathing to control his anger, like, and it's like I love that he's trying to control his anger so he can try and control the Hulk. I love that. But anyway, he's working in this factory in Brazil, and one of the conveyor belts breaks, and he goes and he fixes it. And after he fixes it, you find out he's trying to work on an antidote for the Hulk, like what's in him. And I felt they really hit on how smart he is and how he's actually a scientist, and that's another reason why I rated this movie so good. Is they really captured the feeling of Bruce Banner in this movie. He also was really shy, which from what I read in the comics, he is kind of a shy scientist. He just kind of wants to do his own thing. But there's these guys picking on a girl at one point, and he's trying to say, "You wouldn't like me when I'm angry" in Brazil. And he says, "You wouldn't like me when I'm hungry," and you can't help but laugh if you know the Hulk, right? But yeah, the army's looking for Bruce Banner. They can't find him. He's been gone for X amount of time, and he cuts his thumb open. And it gets in a drink, it almost looks like Mountain Dew, but I don't know what it is. Anyway, the blood gets in a drink, and then someone drinks it, and then from gamma radiation poisoning, they wind up dying. And who is it but Stan the Man Lee? I love that. So Stan's basically what gets Bruce busted. But yeah, the army goes to get Bruce in Brazil, and well, Emil Blonsky, the guy who turns into Abomination, he's looking for Bruce, and there's this dog just barking. He's ruthless as hell, man. He just shoots the dog, no shits to give. I believe they were tranq darts, but it's like, holy shit, man. But yeah, one of my favorite scenes in the movie is probably the chase sequence through Brazil. The army's chasing Bruce, and he's like running from rooftop to rooftop through Brazil. If you've ever seen Brazil, if you've seen the movie, you know what I'm talking about. But if you haven't, man, Brazil's just house next to house next to house, and I love that sequence. Any scene like that in like a town or city like that, I just love. I don't know why, but yeah, I noted that Bruce gets in a fight with a couple people, and he's not very strong. Like, he's getting his butt kicked, but he gets away because he's not a strong fighter. He's a smart fighter. I didn't write down what he did, but I did write that down. So I love that they actually played with, like, Bruce is this smart guy. Like, he's not just some dumb guy that turns into a raging monster, right? Now, about 23 minutes in, Bruce finally hulks out for the first time in the movie. And the army's going after him, and right before he leaves, I swear you hear the Hulk go, "Leave me alone." But like, it's so faint and hard to hear. It's like, was that the Hulk? Like, can he can talk? Like, I thought he could just Hulk smash. I mean, now where we are in the MCU, I know the Hulk can talk now, but like, yeah, I like the scene when Blonsky discovers Bruce is the Hulk. He's like going on like, we almost had Bruce, and then this thing showed up, and then Ross is like, that thing is Bruce, and he's just like, what? And basically Blonsky becomes obsessed with Bruce Banner and the Hulk, and I really like that aspect of the movie too. Like, there is a lot of good things about this movie. I don't know why people just trash talk it, but after all that happens, it shows Bruce just walking up a street with his head down, right, sad, and it has the sad music playing, and I believe that's the music that was playing in the old end, like when the credits were rolling for the old Hulk show. I believe that's the same music, so it's just kind of a nod to the origins. But I also noticed it seems like he's dealing with PTSD a lot in this movie, and that is ultimately why I like this movie so much. Because if you were the Hulk, constantly being shot at and just people chasing you all the time, I think you would have something wrong with you, where everything you see, you hear a loud bang, it startles you because you're being shot at your whole life. Like, I love that aspect of this. Now, they also mentioned shortly after that, Ross mentions World War II super soldiers and the serum and whatnot to Blonsky, and that they're obviously poking Easter eggs towards Captain America. Like, this is before Captain America, so. But Bruce needs to get into a place shortly after, and there's a security guard that won't let him in, and then Bruce is like, I'll give you a pizza, and the security guard's like, yeah, sure, I'll take it. But that security guard is Lou Ferrigno, who is the OG Hulk from the OG show. I only see a couple episodes of it, but even I know who that man is. But after that, they wind up giving Blonsky the basically Captain America super soldier, but they like perfected the serum now, so they don't got to do all the crazy stuff they do in Captain America. And they shoved this huge needle in Blonsky's back, man. And I hate needles. I love tattoos and piercings, but I hate needles, man. Like that scene just, ugh, it bothered me. But shortly after, the Hulk knows he's about to Hulk out. The army's coming after him, and he has this thumb drive with all. Basically, his whole life is on this thumb drive. It's the only thing he's got, and he knows if he Hulks out, it's gonna be gone. So what does he do? He swallows it. So when he Hulks out, it stays in his stomach. He winds up puking it back up later, but I love that scene so much. Yeah, about 51 minutes, 29 seconds in, the Hulk's second appearance, he Hulks out again. Bruce Hulks out. But him and Blonsky and the army are getting in a fight, but Blonsky's actually keeping up with him. I love that scene. Blonsky and the Hulk are fighting, and Blonsky's like diving between his legs, running up and jumping, shooting, like keeping up with the Hulk, but not beating the Hulk. Like it was cool. I like that. But Ross winds up throwing everything at the Hulk in the scene, like tanks, helicopters, these crazy vehicles that like send sound at the Hulk, and the Hulk's the Hulk, so he gets away because he's a beast. But before he gets away, Blonsky's going at the Hulk, and the Hulk just boots him, and he just right into a tree, breaks every bone in his body. You think he's dead, but then the super soldier serum in him winds up making him heal quicker. So he comes right back, and then yeah, Hulk winds up saving Betty in that same scene from a bunch of fire, and he takes off with her. He finally gets like way far away with her and puts her in this little cave, and then the lightning strikes, and the Hulk just screams at the lightning because again, this is the PTSD, and I think even the Hulk's dealing with the PTSD, not just Bruce, right? Like any loud noise, anything startles him because he's constantly being shot at and chased. Like if he wasn't being chased and shot at so much, he might not be such a raging beast. And I love that aspect of this. Now, after that, Bruce is in the shower and he's getting washed, and like the shower head's there pouring water on him, and he's just thinking, and then out of nowhere the shower head turns to like a gun, and it looks like bullets are coming at him, and he like drops in the bathtub and almost starts crying. It's more PTSD, and I love that. Like I just can't get enough of that. But shortly after, he's in a store looking for clothes, and he's like, I need big pants, basically. And they're like, these are all we got, and it's just these big purple pants. And he's like, I don't know about that, but it's like just a nod to the comics. You gotta love it. But then after that, or actually it might have been before that, Bruce and Betty are in bed together, and they're just having a little fun, and then his heart starts beating really fast, and he's got to stop. But you got to feel bad for him. He can't have fun. He can't get too excited. He's constantly being shot at. He's dealing with PTSD. He's probably one sad, depressed man. Like you got to feel bad for this man. And I think that's another reason why I like the movie even more. But in the end, it's S.H.I.E.L.D. that winds up busting Bruce and getting Bruce caught, and why the army finds Bruce. So at this point, S.H.I.E.L.D. must think that Bruce isn't a good guy. Like they might think he's just another monster. So it's kind of, they didn't really touch a whole lot on that, but this is way before the MCU had plans to be as big as it is now. So I'll give it that. But Betty thinks Bruce is in, like when Bruce hulks out, he kind of has some sort of sense, but not really. Like when it comes to Betty, he knows he loves Betty. Like the Hulk knows that Bruce loves Betty. So Betty thinks Bruce is still in there when he's hulked out. It's just his mind is overcharged, I believe she used the term. So like it is Bruce as the Hulk, but he's just so angry he can't focus on like normal emotions. He can just focus on the anger. And I wish they had touched more on that, but if we had got a Hulk sequel, man, I just want a Hulk movie. I know it's hard to do, but I want some more Hulk. He's my boy. He's my favorite hero. But probably my favorite scene in this movie, and yeah, the CGI is a little iffy on this scene, but like it's 2008. It's the Hulk. It's it's a crazy movie. The CGI is bound to be messed up in a scene or two anyway. But he basically, they strap him in, and they strap him into a table, and they gotta make him Hulk out to release the chemicals, and then put in new chemicals or something. A whole bunch of scientific stuff I don't fully understand. But he hulks out on the table breaks, and then he turns back to normal. That scene, watching him Hulk out, is probably one of my favorite scenes in the whole movie. I don't know why. It's nothing crazy. It's just Bruce being the Hulk, and I love Bruce, and I love the Hulk. So, yeah, in this same, like, shortly after, you find out that Blue slash Stern, he's a guy that's been working with Bruce this whole time. I haven't even mentioned him yet. But you find out that he's not just a scientist. He's like a crazy scientist. And he has like hundreds of samples of Bruce's blood. And Bruce is like, we got to destroy this. Like, we can't have all this. And he's basically like, no, I don't know about that. And then blah, blah, blah. Bruce winds up with the army. And then the army's mad, like, you better not have taken him from me. Or Ross is mad, I should say. And Blonsky winds up finding Stern because they know that he was just there, right? Or I think they catch Bruce and Betty there. Yeah, that's what happens. They catch Bruce and Betty there, and then they take them, and then Ross is like, you better not have taken him from me. But then Blonsky stays with Stern, and they're talking and whatnot, and he's like, talking about putting Bruce's blood in him, and then he's like, you already got a little something in you, don't you? And he just gives him this look, and then he's like, goes on, he's like, the mixture of the superhuman serum and Bruce's blood, the mixture could be an abomination. I love that, because he's the abomination, so the comic book fan in me was just like, yeah. But yeah, he winds up proceeding to do the experiment and put some of Bruce's blood in Blonsky, who already has the superhuman serum in him. And basically he starts hulking out into the abomination. He hits Stern into like the wall, and then some of Bruce's blood lands on a cut in Stern's head, and his head starts going right bubbly. And like, that's the all you see of him the rest of the movie. But anyone who knows the Hulk or knows the show, anything, knows that that guy's the leader, a green guy with a huge brain, really smart. So I've been wanting to see him pop up in the MCU ever since. He hasn't. That doesn't mean he won't. But I also noted the Abomination seems madder and has even less control than the Hulk. Like, he can talk. Like, he does have some sort of control, but like, I don't know. It's hard to really process what's going on with him. Like, can he control what he's doing, or can't he? Because he's like, it's hard to grasp there. But like, the Hulk seems like he has more control over the Hulk than Blonsky does with the Abomination. But yeah, Bruce jumps from the helicopter and falls into the cement. This is a scene where I'm iffy on, because he falls, right, and he hits the cement, and like, he probably just would have went splat, or like, which he's the Hulk, he probably would have hit it and turned to the Hulk, whatever. But like, he just goes right through the cement, and it's like, I don't think that would happen, but it's a comic book movie, so I'll let this slide. Bruce jumps from copter, and then the Abomination, when they're about to fight, he goes, Hulk! And it's like, we never really established him as the Hulk in this movie. Like, there's this one time where it's going to these news clips, and like, someone calls him the Hulk. That is the only time someone has called him the Hulk in this whole movie. And then all of a sudden, Abomination's calling him Hulk. But there was a shaky cam sequence, which I hate shaky cam. I can't stand it. It bothers me. I can't focus on what's going on. But Hulk starts losing the fight with Abomination. He sees Betty and then just starts kicking ass. And then he uses his big thunderclap to put out a fire. And it really makes you think, like, Bruce has got to be in there. Because he was losing, and then he sees Betty, and then he just starts whipping ass. So this is Bruce. I don't know how, but it is Bruce. I noted here the CGI still looks better than anything in the DCEU. So that's like, this movie has better CGI than the Justice League, which came out this year. And this movie, the Hulk, came out 10 years ago. Sorry. Like, that's crazy. Like, it's almost like someone's trying to sabotage the DCU, to be completely honest. Anyway, the fight scene continues, and Hulk goes, Hulk smash! And it's still, I loved that, and I loved how he did it. I loved the look of it, but it's like, we haven't established that you're the Hulk. Like, whatever, I'll let that slide. But the in the fight, the Abomination has like bones sticking out of him, and like he has a bone sticking out of his elbow, and Hulk winds up making him. Actually, was it? I think he stabs the Hulk with his elbow, and then yeah, almost kills Abomination. The Hulk almost kills Abomination with a big chain choking him out, and basically doesn't kill him. The army takes him, so that leaves it open. Will the Abomination come again? Like I want to see these characters come back. I want to see them all come back. I don't care. I want to see them all. Oh, Avengers Infinity War, if Abomination comes back, I would just be so pumped, so pumped. Now the movie ends with Bruce Banner in like a cabin wherever, and he purposely turns into the Hulk, and the movie ends. So it's like, does he have control of the Hulk now? Has he always had control, or like what's going on there? But yeah, this is our second post credit scene, and it goes to the shot of the bar, and it's just reload, and General Ross is doing shot after shot, and then Tony Stark walks in, and Ross is like, "You always wear such nice suits," and it's obviously a nod to the Iron Man suit, not the suit he's wearing. And then Tony's just like, "We're putting together a team," and then it's over. And yeah, I just watched Iron Man 2 last night, and it doesn't seem like that post credit scene adds up with Iron Man 2 with how him and Shield's going on. So I'm iffy on that post credit scene, but it's connecting it all together, and this was before they even had plans to make it all one big universe. So we'll let it slide this time. But yeah, overall, 2 thumbs up. 8.5 out of 10. I loved it. I highly recommend you getting it. And next on the list is Iron Man 2 for my MCU reviews. Let me know what you guys thought of it. Let me know if you guys hated the movie, if you thought it was terrible, or if you guys loved it like I did. I can't get enough of the Hulk. I'm a sucker for the Hulk. Like, I love Thor Ragnarok solely for the Hulk's fat parts in it. But yeah, let me know what you guys thought of the movie, and do you think we should get not necessarily a sequel, but just another Hulk movie? I'll be fine if Mark Ruffalo's the Hulk, but I'd prefer Edward Norton, but I'm fine with Mark Ruffalo. So yeah, have a good day, guys. Take her easy.